Let's share tips on how to start a drawing when you have no idea what to draw. Well, hello there, I'm Détroit. If you don't know, I make drawings of all sorts. Abstract with ink, comic style, even paintings. I spend a lot of time drawing, resulting in 2 brand new videos every week. But when you draw this much, sometimes it's hard to start and to find an idea for a drawing. In this video, I will be showing you how I start some of my drawings. First off, you should know that what you're seeing me make right now is not at all the drawing for today. It was the first attempt I did, and I erased it after 8 minutes because I didn't like it. I kept the footage, however, because it really shows how I started. I picked a dark grey tone and used a large hexagonal brush. I wanted to use a square, but turns out I don't have a square brush that has no texture. The opacity for the brush stroke is at 100%, and I only have the size defined by the pressure of the stylus. My goal here is to carve a shape and see later what inspires me. I made a large blob, and from there I refined the shape a bit. Turns out it made me think of a head and a bust. After that, I played around with other shades of grey, trying strange design elements. After 8 minutes though, I didn't like it. Besides, I had drawn everything on the same layer as the background, which is a pain to fix. This is when I started over, on the right layers this time. I kept the first attempt in because that's what inspired me to make a face and a bust. Only this time I was gonna make a normal face rather than an alien-shaped design. You see, I am quite imaginative. It is rare for me to not know what I want to draw. There are more stories in my mind than there are videos on the whole of YouTube. Because I see what I want to draw clearly in my head, I usually start a drawing with a sketch. This time it's the opposite. It is the drawing that will determine itself. It doesn't seem that strange of a process when you see it unfold, but I think it's important to make the distinction. So where did that take us now? I am rambling, but the drawing is picking up already. After the initial shapes for the body and the hair, I am discarding my big hexagonal brush, this time opting for your basic soft round brush with pressure opacity. I'm still only using values and no colors. By playing with the size of the brush, I am defining the key areas that are in darkness. A good process for that is to switch between the brush and the eraser. I have a soft eraser, but not as soft as the brush, so it creates these harder edges, but not as hard as it would be with a hard eraser. The best example is the dark area above the eyes, which are more defined than the edge below. Another thing I don't often do, when I should do it a lot more, I'm using the natural gradients to define the features, rather than lines. That is the main difference between any comic style and painting. Real people don't have a black line contouring the nose or the lips. Instead, you can see the bottom lip pop out because it casts a shadow under it, above the chin. By applying these tiny gradients in the right places, it instantly makes the features more recognizable. It is also much easier to see it when you paint in grayscale rather than with colors straight away. For real, it is a really good exercise. You can train your values, your lights and shadows, and your edges, all key areas for painting. It also goes to show that you don't need any fancy brush. I'm doing all of this with just a soft round brush. When all the features are easily recognizable, then it's time to start refining it a bit more. At first I used only the base tone, 1 shade darker and 1 shade lighter. During the refining process, I will start adding a lot more tones, blending them together or using them in contrast to define the edges. Still with the same brush, I'm using a very dark shade of grey to add shadows in between the lips, above the eyelids and so on. I am also giving volume to the hair by making shadow strokes and light strokes. As a good rule of thumb for any creative process, in painting it is even more important to start big before going small. Start defining the key volumes of the hair before even thinking about making individual strands. Even then, when I make individual strands, I don't plan on overcrowding the drawing with it. Maybe I drew a dozen loose hair here and there to give the illusion of detail, but that's it. Same with the highlights on the face. By making them pop, it makes the whole thing look more refined than it actually is. You know, this whole drawing, including the failed attempt, took 57 minutes. It was a rather quick painting, made efficient by going from bigger design elements into smaller ones without rushing through. At the same time, it really is a bit messy. you can still see the roughness of the overall shapes I did with the corners of the hexagonal brush. Because it is a light drawing exercise, I don't need everything to look perfect, so I'll just soften the edge with the eraser. You can really see what I'm talking about on the end of the hair strands. I just don't care at this point, I want to color it and be done with it. Talking about coloring, I have to admit I'm clearly not the best when it comes to doing grayscale drawings and then colors. I know you have to use a combination of coloring layers, overlays and multiplies to make it look good, but I don't seem to make it work most of the time. My way of doing it, which again is not the best at all, is to add a lot of coloring layers of all sorts with varying opacity. Because the drawing values are very dark overall, I wanted a nice chocolatey feel for the base tone. I'm making it pop a bit more with a contrasting blue on the woman's hair. My idea is that rather than being just a bust, she is bathing. Her name is Maya and there is water up to her shoulders and she just turned her head to look at you. The blue is kinda reminiscent of that water, I guess. To make her skin look prettier, one color isn't gonna cut it, so I am adding very low opacity layers of reds and pinks here and there, so that her lips and cheeks etc. change tones slightly. Again, the whole idea is to imply more than it is to show everything. After that, to make the entire drawing a bit lighter, I add a dark purple background. Now the messy character pops even more, and it gives the purple of the hair a bit more sense. On the same idea, adding a shadow behind is just a nice compositional tool. Fudging with the layers where I messed up to clean it a tiny bit, and there you have it. How to start a drawing without knowing what to draw. How to carve a face out of nowhere in grayscale, and how to cheat the watcher into thinking you detailed your art. I hope you can take inspiration from this digital art. Don't hesitate to like, comment and subscribe. Tell me what I should draw next, for example, or what style I should try. All of my art is on my Instagram at d3_sd, and I'm also on Twitter. Wow! I'm Detroit and I want you to find someone who looks at you like this girl does. Bye!